Hi everyone, this is Jacqueline from ESFIworld.com, and with me I have Devin Hawk, Submarine. Sorry, I totally botched up your last name, and we even went over this. Subramanium. I think I got that right. And he's one of the Zerg players on Team Vile. Unfortunately, our cameras aren't working because Skype, for whatever reason, won't let us. It just keeps saying we need subscriptions, so it's just going to be talking only, which is kind of a new experience for me because I can't actually see anything Devin says or anything, any sort of anything. So welcome. How's it going so far?
It's going pretty well, and the name, everyone butchers it, so don't feel bad.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm like, it's so many letters. I guess I can't really talk. Like, my first name has 10 letters, so I'd say it happens. So thank you so much for joining us. It was kind of last minute, or the person we had on and scheduled kind of ditched out, so we're like, cool, now what? So thank you very much. So to start off with, can you tell me about how you got involved with Vile specifically?
Well, yeah, but first, I have to thank you guys for allowing me to join in. I mean, anything that lets me, get more exposure is obviously very helpful to myself.
Pretty hard out there, I'd assume.
Yeah. As for how I got to know Vile, I used to be friends with, well, I still am, but I used to know Vile Striker. He was quite a good Brood War player, and I used to know him from Brood War. So when I switched to StarCraft 2, I didn't play beta, so I was kind of a bit behind everyone else. Anyway, so I got pretty good, and I just messaged Striker, who was on Vile, and asked for a tryout, and basically I cheesed all 6 games in the tryout games, and I won all of them just because I didn't think I could win playing Standard because they were really good. Anyway, they let me on, and I've been practicing to get better ever since.
So did you find that making the switch from Brood War was pretty difficult?
Well, I think that Brood War background really helped me, but I feel like it was difficult because I was behind everyone else when I did switch. Like, they had a few months extra to practice, which is quite a lot.
Did you switch kind of right after the launch, so like July or end of July, or end of July 2010, or did you kind of wait a couple months before making the official switch over?
I switched on the day of release.
Okay. You just didn't get a beta key?
I just didn't bother with it. Like,
Okay.
I just kind of wanted to play Brood War because that's what I kind of enjoyed at the moment.
Do you still kind of play Brood War every once in a while?
I've tried to go back, but I just haven't practiced it enough, and it's more frustrating than fun at this point.
Yeah, I find at the LAN center near my house, like a lot of the guys will play, it's like, let's take a break from StarCraft. We'll play a couple games of Brood War, but after like 1 or 2, they're like, and we're just going to go play League of Legends. So I can imagine it being pretty frustrating. So since joining Vile, I'm assuming you practice with them quite often. Is it more structured practices? Like, do you have, Monday from 8 till, 10? Or is it kind of more like laid back friends just kind of playing customs together and working through build orders?
Well, Vile's kind of an odd team. We're all very, very competitive people, but we don't really have any structure, mainly because we're all, for the most part, pretty young and still in schooling, whether it's college or high school for me. And we just play when we can, but when we do play, we are really competitive about it.
Are there certain people that you prefer to practice with within the team?
Illusion is really good. State, when I can actually get him to practice, is really helpful. Chance is really good for ZVZ, and Spanishu, while I don't know how he always beats me, but he just does. Like, he has such a unique style, I don't know what to do against it, so that's always helpful to get my just when it's not standard, how to play against that.
It's true. One of my friends tries to copy his style, and I'm like, I always know what he's doing. Like, he goes for that or like back when it was popular, he went for like that defensive queen style. I'm like, I know exactly what you're doing, but I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. So I can imagine that being pretty difficult when you're like trying to keep up with all of his like unique play styles. So your team was actually the 12th team invited to the EG Masters Cup, and there's some pretty big names like you have Startail, TL, EG, obviously, Mouse Sports. Do you think that the team has a chance to do well in the tournament?
Yeah, I definitely think Vile has a chance. The things we have going for us is we're pretty underrated. So against Korean teams, at least, we have a chance that they'll send out, their B team players or stuff like that to get them practice, and hopefully we can get some early wins against them. And then also, because we're not known, people don't really know how our players play, and they can't really find, or they don't bother with finding replays to study our game styles. So we might know how the people we're playing play, but they know nothing about us.
Were you surprised when Vile was voted in? Because I know you weren't at the top. I think you were probably third right when the voting kind of started, and then you were put up to the top when people like Husky kind of promoted it. Was it a surprise when you finally, found out that you for sure made it?
I mean, I think I was more surprised that we weren't at the top for longer, mainly because between Psy and Spanishiwa, we have the entire prepubescent boy vote. So
it's true. You just have to get like the prepubescent girls on there, and you'll have fangirls and
all
voters.
6 of them.
Yeah, that's probably an accurate estimate of how many girls like under the age of 16 are involved in StarCraft. How do you plan to prepare for the event? Are you going to be researching your opponents and doing specific builds on specific maps, or is it just kind of like you're just doing your own thing, or is it a real team effort?
I just try and practice as when I can. If I get home early, then I'll just grind some ladder games. I just think it's really playing towards certain maps. I mean, just try and practice. Yeah.
And so what do you think of like kind of the negative responses that you got on TL? Like there were a lot of like Vile's not the best, Vile's not the most popular. Kind of what's your response to that negative criticism?
I don't read it. I just read the good ones. But like if you don't think we should be in there, then you can say that. It's cool. But we're gonna beat some good players, so let's try and prove them wrong.
Do you find that negative criticism isn't really something that affects you?
Well, when it's about my team, I don't really care that much. But when it's about myself, like I just feel like I need to practice even harder, and I do try and practice as much as possible given my time. So it more affects me when they say like about oh, Hawk sucks, something like that. And then I'm just like now I have to play 20 games today.
So you kind of just get inspired, or I guess, I don't know, the haters just fuel the fire.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you feel like a real sense of like camaraderie with your team? Is it like definitely like a team and not just like a couple people who kind of are under the same banner?
I think our team has a really good community. I mean, if you were lucky enough to like ghost our Skype chat, we just troll each other 24/7. We have most of our team members added with each other on Facebook, so I mean, we talk with each other a lot, not just in the game. We have like really developed friendships inside Vile, so I'd say that's more than just like a team that we just have a group of players that play together. It's actual friendship.
Well, something that's always kind of fascinated me about StarCraft, or I guess kind of any individual sport, but I think bringing it kind of to an online dynamic makes it different. Like at least in an individual sport, you normally would at least like practice or live in the same area as your team and see them on a daily basis. But I'd assume there's a lot of StarCraft teams where like I mean, you see in, EG, for example, or Complexities announcing Korean players. Like some of these players on the same team have probably never met and don't speak the same language and, maybe don't practice together. So it's kind of something that's always fascinated me as a fan. And I think it's kind of neat to see when there are teams that are like, yeah, like we're friends, like we play together, but we're also, we talk on Skype all the time. So it's kind of neat. Do you think that Viles going forward is going to try to do more team events like the EG Masters Cup?
Well, hopefully we can start getting invited to all the big team leagues out there. If we do well in IPLTA C2 or EG Masters Cup, hopefully we get invited to more and more. So just gotta practice hard and never lose.
Do you have any goals for the team specifically for the next year?
My goal for the team is for us to win every single league and for our players to win every single tournament. I mean, to have anything less as a goal wouldn't really make sense.
That's true. So when I interviewed Huck at NASL, one of the comments that he made is that competitive gaming for him wasn't really something that he picked. Like he never woke up one morning and said that he wanted to be a competitive gamer. He says that he kind of fell into it from his past in Warcraft 3. Do you think that's kind of something similar for you that, you played Brood War and you were good at it, so you came to StarCraft 2 and you were good at it, so it kind of was a natural transition to a team, or was professional gaming kind of something that you planned on?
Professional gaming, I'm not really too sure, but I do not foresee any future in it for me because I am going to college in a few months, and once I'm there, I'm looking to go into pre-med, so I'll pretty much retire by that point. But before then, I just want to see how good I can get and hopefully hit #1 in the world. It's delusional, but it's my delusion.
I don't know. Murs is from Team Dignitas is actually in law school. I don't know if you read it, but he had a pretty good blog on Team Liquid just about like his experiences and a lot about like how he's dividing his time between school and StarCraft. And like he went to at least one MLG and has done a lot of like European stuff. So you never know, you might be able to like play StarCraft in university. Or do you think it's definitely like you don't want to?
Well, it's more that at least for the first few months of college, I don't want to risk trying to balance both of them. I'd rather just do one well, which in this case would be, my education. If I find a way to properly balance them, like if I, start getting into the flow of school, then maybe I'll start back up. But for now, my plans are full-time university student once I go.
So that be September?
Yeah, sometime then, yeah.
Do you think that you'd ever take time off for StarCraft? Like, would you push your education a year back?
No, I wouldn't take a year back. Maybe if there's like local tournaments, then, I'll practice for those. But for right now, yeah, I'm just pretty focused on becoming a doctor, once I get into college.
So what about being a doctor is interesting to you or interests you?
It's kind of weird or corny, but I just kind of want to be a productive member of society and help people, and there's nothing more to it than that. It's just I just want to do something with my time,
You don't think that like being a StarCraft player or working within the esports community is a productive member of society?
That's a loaded question.
Well, you kind of like gave me the perfect segue for it. I had to take it.
Geez. Well, it's not that like it provides entertainment value and it's a cultural thing, so it's very good for people. But the thing is with pro gaming, I just well, I mean maybe, but I just have always wanted to be a doctor. Pro gaming is just something I kind of got into because I always played StarCraft and was pretty good at it. But ever since I was young, it's I've always wanted to be a doctor. So I think that dream happened for me before pro gaming.
So you'll never kind of consider pro gaming as a career or just anything in esports?
I'll always have it in the back of my head, but I mean, it's always a possibility if the circumstances lean towards that is better. But for right now, it's becoming a doctor.
Do you think that it'll be something that you kind of like maybe invest money in, like say after you're done your residency? I don't really know how med school works in the States. I'm from Canada, but like after you finish your degree and then after you finish your residency, do you think it's something that you'd want to put back into, like say, host or maybe not host a tournament, but put money towards a tournament or, fund certain esports projects or maybe, if Vile is still around, is it something that you'd want to support once, you kind of have an income?
My second dream is once I become a doctor is to become the oldest pro gamer there is.
So
Maybe
you
like
back.
35-year-old doctor pro gamer. Like they'll call me Dr. Hawk. That'd be so awesome.
Well, it's not. I mean, we haven't, it's not like we haven't seen like pro gamers who are in their 30s, like, you've not seen White Raw. And I think a lot of people kind of argue that, oh, you can't play when you're older, or at least that was kind of the argument that was big when the game was first launched in StarCraft, or people were kind of switching over to StarCraft 2. But I think it's more of like a lifestyle thing, like, than
Right.
it is kind of a, I don't know, like, oh, I can't play. It's just that, like, is it really worth the time and energy when, your friends are now married with kids and you're, like, going to MLGs on the weekend and, like, not making any money? So that's just kind of my opinion on it. But it would be cool if you could come back. Do you think that, StarCraft 4 will be out by then? Or do you think we'll still have StarCraft 2?
I think we'll be on like StarCraft 3 by maybe 2050.
Okay. I'll write that down. We can make a bet on it. Hopefully one of us
Oh,
is still around for it.
yeah, hopefully. Don't worry, if you get sick, you can just become patient.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, I think, yeah, it'll be neat to see how, like, people, when they progress and become professionals like yourself in the future, how they kind of, like, give back to the community. So kind of getting back to the game specifically, you do play Zerg. What about the race complements your style and personality?
Well, I really like to think about the game a lot, and I love to react to what my opponent is doing, and I love to throw them off. So Zerg fits that to a T, because the biggest difference between Zerg and Terran Protoss is that Zerg does what it. You can do a Zerg based on what you scout, and then also you can just do whatever you want, and it can still work. There's no set style that you have to play in. There's no set timings. You can just play however you want, do whatever you want, and as long as you're good enough, it should always work out.
So the creative part of StarCraft seems to be really important to you. Is that true?
Oh yeah, definitely. What I could not stand is playing Terran and doing what the Koreans do and just grind out one build order 100 times in a row. And that's how a lot of them practice Terran Protoss. But I think for the most part, Zerg, you just have to play every game like it's a different game, and you just have to react to what your opponent does at all times.
Do you ever kind of theory craft and make up your own builds, or do you kind of like adapt other people's builds?
I theory craft, but I'm kind of crazy when I do it. I theory craft while inside a game. Like
Okay.
instead of thinking, what about nine pooling against Protoss or something like that, I'll just randomly join a ladder game and nine pool a Protoss just to see if it would work. So I'm much more proactive about my theory crafting.
Do you find that ladder is kind of your important practice time, or do you prefer doing customs?
I definitely prefer customs, but if there's no one around, I'd rather not wait 15 minutes for a game. I'd rather just be grinding out as many games as possible with the time I have.
Do you have kind of like a set time aside for practice? Is it like, you do your homework from like 6 to 8 and then you eat dinner and then you play StarCraft? Or is it kind of dependent on the day?
It's really dependent on the day. and the month too. Some months, like I may only get in 20 hours of practice during the entire month, and then others I'll be completely free and have like 120 hours to play. So it's a big difference between each month and even day.
Do you find it really hard to balance between school and practice?
Uh, Not really. If I haven't played for a long time, I only need maybe a day or two to get back into things. StarCraft 2, once you've really learned the game, it's more theory than anything else. The mechanics, you can get back pretty quickly.
So, are you pretty open with your friends and family about kind of your StarCraft career?
Wait, 1 second.
Oh, no worries. I think while we're waiting, we're just going to go to a commercial break. So,
Okay.
or yeah, we're just going to go to a commercial break
Okay.
and then we'll come back.
Okay.
Hi everyone, we're back, and with me for ESFI's Endgame is Vile Hawk. So I just want to give you a quick little bit of information. If you like what we're doing or you like anything that ESFI is doing, definitely check us out on Twitch TV. You're already here, so just subscribe. We have a website, esfiworld.com, and then we also can be found on Twitter and Facebook as well. So if you like what we're doing, give some feedback, and definitely subscribe, like, and follow, because it does really help us spread our content and get our name out there. So thank you, welcome back. Before the break, we were just talking a little bit about kind of your personal life and StarCraft 2. So I asked you, do you or your friends and family know about you and StarCraft?
My family definitely does. Friends, it depends. I mean, I have a set of friends that I've gotten through gaming, and then most of people at school, like if they just ask, I'll tell them, but I don't like openly advertise it or anything. I'm just pretty normal. Like at school, I just play tennis, do normal stuff. So it's generally only when they ask, do I say.
So you don't normally like introduce yourself as like, you know, my name's Devin and I play StarCraft kind of professionally or professionally. No one kind of asks that.
No. Like even people who know me for years, some of them don't know. So
is it just like you don't tell them, or are you ashamed of it?
Well, it's not that. It's just well, if they ask, like I have it on my Facebook page and everything. It's just I don't know. I find it kind of annoying to talk about because then they'll always ask, and I don't really put that much time into it.
Okay.
So, you know.
So is your family pretty supportive?
No, not at all.
They're not?
No, not at all.
Do they make it pretty clear that they're not supportive?
Yes. very much so.
So what about it? Like, do they not like?
uh, the fact that it's gaming, pretty much. So
Okay.
yeah.
So they're just kind of like against the whole idea of gaming. What have you done to
Yes.
kind of introduce them to kind of the world of esports?
Nothing at all.
Okay.
They're not the type to change their minds very easily.
Okay. So they're just like, no, we're not into it, and that's it.
Yeah.
Do you have siblings?
Yeah, one brother, one sister.
Do they play video games?
My brother does quite a lot. He got me into Brood War in, when I was 8, and he still is into video games quite a lot, but he's more casual now.
He's older brother?
Yes, by
Does
4 years.
Does he follow your StarCraft career?
Yeah, I kind of tell him, stuff that's going on with me and everything, so he tries to follow it.
Is he pretty excited about your gaming?
Yeah, I'd say so. Like, he always gets his friends to watch and everything, and he usually has like a little party and something that you would see like at a barcraft, but on they're like sitting in front of like a little laptop watching.
See, that's pretty supportive, even if your parents aren't.
Yeah.
What about your sister? Is she kind of the same way, or
Oh,
does she
not at
not play
all.
video games?
Yeah, she doesn't play it, so she kind of thinks it's weird.
Oh, she's like that weird, or she has that weird brother who plays that
Yeah,
video game.
yeah.
Have you ever kind of tried to introduce her to StarCraft?
Not really. Like, me and my brother have always played tons of video games, and we've always tried throughout the years, but she's just never been into it. So,
That makes sense. I have a lot of female friends who are like that too, like just like no interest in video games. And you're like, but there's like more than one kind of video game. Like it's kind of like a multi-dimensional platform. She's like, I don't care. I hate them. So getting back to StarCraft, just the patch notes last week were released for 1.4.3. How do you approach patch changes within the game, and do you practice on the test server at all?
the test server really isn't worth it to practice on, just because I would need to get someone that I know, like one of my teammates, to also get on, and it's just it takes quite a while to practice on it, and there's also bugs. It's just not worth the time investment. But we do always read the notes, and immediately when you read those, you kind of theory craft as to what you're going to start doing.
Is it kind of a team effort, like the team reads them together and then kind of goes through the possible scenarios, or is it more you kind of just do it individually?
It's individual, but I really do hope the rest of my team have read that.
So the Korean Terran style of late game ZVT can be very difficult once they have a lot of ghosts. Do you think the snipe change was necessary that's coming up, and are you happy with it, or and do you kind of see it changing ZVT a lot?
Well, the issue wasn't really balance. It was more that it made for really boring games because Zerg could break ghosts when they were before they maybe had like 10. If they had anything less than that, then enough of a Broodlord Infestor army could break it. But the whole point of Terran late game is just to get up to that critical number and then just sit there and sit there and sit there and wait till Zerg mines out. So the issue wasn't balance. The issue is it started to make really boring games where Terran had no incentive to attack ever. Hopefully with this ghost nerf, they might start, finding new ways to play the late game.
Do you find that you do better against an aggressive Terran or a more defensive Terran?
Well, it depends on how good they are.
Okay.
If it's like on ladder, then I always love it if they're defensive because I can win pretty easily. But if they're like really good in Korean Terrans, if they're just defensive, then that's also actually really scary to play against.
Do you play on the Korean server a lot?
No, not at all.
Okay. So the next kind of big upgrade is the Phoenix upgrade. And, I guess it's pretty relevant in ZVP because the big like QQ right now is the ZVP mass muta scenarios. Do you think that's a problem that needed fixing?
Yeah, it's the same thing too. This one is actually kind of more of a balance issue, but it was also that it led to boring games because Zerg could literally just sit and mass one unit out, and simply because of its mobility, Protoss couldn't ever attack because Zerg could base race, and that's just not really fair that you can make like 60 Mutalisks and win.
When you say boring game, do you mean like boring for the player or boring for a spectator?
I think kind of both. For the spectator, the first time they see that, like making 70 Mutalisks and watching the base race will be fun. But after they start seeing it for like the fifth or sixth time, or just watching it where no player wants to attack each other because then they'll go for a base race, I think it would get boring after that.
So just kind of from a player stance, you think that these kind of balance changes are also needed just to kind of see more creative play while you're laddering, while you're in tournaments?
Yeah, I mean, definitely it promotes creativity. Now, the best thing I like about the Phoenix change is that you can still go meta, and metas are always still going to be good. It's just that now Protosses have a way to deal with once Zerg gets 70 mutas, because it used to be once they have that, there's no way to win for Protoss.
So another kind of the Terran patch changes is that the mules are now only going to be harvesting the same amount from rich mineral. Now I'm like totally botching my words. Rich minerals as well as normal. Do you think that the rich minerals should be removed as for the GSL maps, or do you think that they should kind of stay in?
I just feel like Blizzard is trying to put a band-aid on Frankenstein. Like, gold mineral patches were just, they were a neat idea, but they just aren't meant for balance. You balance the game based off of a normal income rate of worker saturation, and then you make minerals that give you more minerals, and you expect the game to be balanced for each race. It doesn't work like that. The mule change is simply them trying to make it work, but I think even with the change, most new maps won't have any gold minerals.
Do you think that's definitely the good thing then?
Well, it was neat, and it kind of made for cool strategies, but as for player balance goes, then I think it's really good. One of the biggest issues, even if they change the mules, is Zerg has quite a big advantage against Protoss if there's a gold on the map. Just because in Zerg versus Protoss, taking a gold at Zerg is ridiculous.
Do you have you ever tried map making, or do you have any map making experience?
Oh, I don't even know how to start even map making. Like, I wouldn't even know how to access the map making system.
Okay.
Really have no idea.
I like map making, so that's usually, I guess, why I asked. What do you think of the new Season 6 ladder maps?
Well, they have a few new GSL maps, so that's really good. I think every season now the maps have been getting better and better. They're getting larger too.
Even Season 3?
What was wrong with what happened in that season?
That was like the kind of like 2 or 1 was okay, 2 got better, then like 3 got shittier, and then like 4 got better.
Yeah, where there were the Blizzard maps.
Yeah, where they like reintroduced like, or no, they had like those new maps.
Yeah.
So do you like kind of like ESB map team made Core Hall and Cloud Kingdom? Do you like kind of the inclusion of community maps? Do you think it's important for the StarCraft community?
Well, I actually have an issue with maps, but let me first say that
Okay.
I like Cloud Kingdom a lot. Core Hall I don't really like as a map. But anyway, so the issue with the maps I find is when we had Brood War, leagues could put in any map they wanted. because you could just go onto a private server and play ladder on that map. So you had an effective way to practice a certain map for a league or a tournament. For StarCraft 2, unless you're on a very active pro team that always has custom games running, there's no effective way for the average person to practice on a new map. So that's kind of the issue for map makers, is that they can make an excellent map, but if Blizzard doesn't put it in their map pool, there's no way for average people to practice it, and thus it won't be used in tournaments. So because we don't have private servers, we're actually very limited on what we can use for maps to play on.
Do you think that we need like an IC Cup rating system then in StarCraft 2?
Well, private servers would help a lot in more specific kinds of practices, because again, ladder, like, what if I want to only play against Protosses and just grind out those? I think just one server is really bad for practice, honestly.
So how do you, like we have 2 new maps in the ladder from ESV, and they're being played in more tournaments. As a player, how do you approach these new maps?
I just play them with teammates, and it's always good on new maps to try and be as aggressive as possible in my tournament games, just because people don't really know building placements and like rush distance timings on the map yet. So trying to be very aggressive to throw them off is always really good.
Do you compete in kind of like daily tournaments?
Well,
or like
I try to, but
okay.
Most of the time I can't.
Do you do like Playhem, or do you do like the Zeke tournaments? Which ones do you prefer?
I've played in the Playhem a few times. I've won a couple, but I haven't played in any Zeke ones. It's just if I have time.
So you played in Complexities, the V. How did you get invited to that?
I actually just PM'd the thread owner post, and I was just like, hey, can I go play on this? And he actually said, yeah, sure. So that's all you have to do.
Do you find that as a player, taking kind of the initiative like that is really important to get your name out there?
Oh, definitely. Like, people wouldn't just randomly invite me. You have to, send some messages out, especially when someone has an ongoing show match like every week and needs new players. You definitely need to do that to get your name out.
So are you kind of doing anything special to get your name out? Like, do you stream? Do you use Twitter at all?
I don't use Twitter. I used to stream, but I really can't. I just don't have enough upload speed. So, but if I was able to, I would.
You should get Twitter. I'm just saying that. It's a really good way to self-promote yourself. Do you find that it's really difficult to kind of like make yourself stand out when we have, pretty big market and it's saturated with big personalities and like kind of epic players like your Nesties and MMAs?
It really depends. I mean, there'll always be those guys rooting for the underdogs, those unknowns, just so they can say, hey, I knew that guy before he was amazing. Yeah, so there'll always be those people that'll be fans, but
That's true.
Yeah, it's definitely hard when you have a lot of people going for the very, very top players, just rooting for them.
So you went to Dallas and Anaheim last year. Did you go to any other tournaments?
Orlando.
Okay. So you just, are you going to plan, I guess now that IPL4, as far as we know, is going to be all ages, would you like to go to kind of a different event?
Well, if I can go to IPL4, I'll go there. Sounds fun. I don't really know much about it, though.
Yeah, it's like they haven't released dates, and they've teased about it being in Vegas, but they haven't really confirmed it. So I guess it's kind of hard to start making real plans. But tell me a little bit more about your MLG experience. I know you did pretty well in Anaheim and Dallas, but what was kind of your first initial impressions of, this grand live esports event?
Oh, man, Dallas was pretty difficult. That was like the first big LAN I went to, and in that one, I remember like I brought a keyboard with a PS2 port, and they were just like, you can't use that. So I had to borrow this like just terrible keyboard. It looks like it was going to break down. Could barely press the keys, and I just played with that the entire tournament. So that one I was just getting mostly experience, but oddly enough, I that was the one I've placed highly in. So Anaheim, that one I lost first round to an unknown Zurich player. I was really mad about that, and I was pretty tired, so I just like slept for 14 hours. Went day two, and I think I won 9 rounds in a row, or something like 10. Got into championship bracket, then lost to Todd. So it was a pretty good run for me, and I was happy with how I did on day two. Orlando, I don't think I did that well. I was kind of disappointed about that.
Does travel and kind of, I guess you don't really have that much jet lag, but you know, you have that day of like dragging your ass across the country. Do you find that the travel and just the late hours affect you as a player?
Yeah, definitely. It's really hard, and for me, I try not to miss school when I go to these things. So most people have like get there a day early. I generally don't have that luxury,
Oh.
unfortunately.
How did you get to the events?
By flight.
Did you pay for it or did your team?
My team did.
Okay. Do you plan on going to more this year?
Oh yeah, definitely.
If you could, so you've been to 3 MLGs, you've kind of like definitely seen what it's like in the open bracket. If you could change the format, how would you change it and what would look like?
I think the open bracket is pretty good where it is now. I had an issue with pool play, but they fixed it this season with the uh, tournaments, the regional qualifiers. Unfortunately, with that, I think it has been. I'm not going to take any risks. I won't say anything about that. I'm
Yeah,
not
no
sure if
worries.
you're supposed to or not yet.
I guess kind of the hot topic this week is the $20 arena pay-per-view. Did you apply, or what number one did you apply, or did you get an invite for the North American qualifier?
I did, and I've had the games played already. They were actually most of my games weren't that exciting,
Okay.
but they were. I did pretty well.
What did you think of the people who didn't get invited? Like, you know, you had a lot of people who were kind of complaining that they didn't get an invite. Do you think it should have been an open qualifier?
Uh, well, I don't know. It, they could have. I mean, that's a way to do it. But if it's MLG, I think that you should just invite people based on their performances at MLGs. Like, if it's open qualifier, you always have that chance to get some random guy that's never been to an MLG before and isn't planning to go to one. It's just he's just playing, to play.
That makes
Um,
sense. So yeah, the hot topic also there this week is the pay-per-view for $20 for the MLG for the Winter Arena. So you were in the qualifiers. Do you plan on watching?
uh, Probably not. I mean, I don't really actually watch that much. I don't even watch GSL. Like when I get home, I just try and play and practice as much as possible. But I might consider buying it just to root on Dodoro, my teammate.
Are there streamers or tournaments that you do follow or watch on a regular basis?
Um, I really like Cat's Pajamas commentary. Doa is really good. Obviously, Day 9 and Tasteless. So it's mostly casters. And I try and watch some of the Koreans play, but uh, basically it's just like the big events. And even for those, maybe only the semifinals and finals.
So you find that you're kind of more attracted to the casters than you are specifically like who's playing?
Yeah, and that's actually a really big phenomenon in StarCraft 2 is in Brood War we didn't care about who casted the games, but in StarCraft 2 the casters are more famous than the players.
Why do you
So,
think that is?
I really have no idea. Maybe it was just that during the time of Brood War we didn't have all the streaming services and casters weren't as important. That's possible, but also I just think it's because we have better personalities in this game.
Does it kind of bother you as a player knowing that like even if you do make it to the best in the world, like people are probably more excited about like Tastosis than they are about you?
Not really, because I'm
Okay.
just as excited as them about Tastosis.
Okay. Um, so getting back to before we kind of started this interview, we were talking about your Team Liquid Liquipedia page. So you're actually not 20. Liquipedia is wrong. And Liquipedia is very rarely wrong. You're actually born in 1993. You're 18. Can you tell us the story behind this?
Yeah, so when I was 16 and younger, I always wanted to play in every tournament I could, and some of them were only 18 plus. So I just kind of put my age as 18 so I could play in those. And it kind of rolled over so that when I'm actually 18 now, it says that I'm 20.
Do you think that Team Liquid should fix it?
I think they have
Or
better things to do.
I guess. You can actually edit Liquipedia yourself if you wanted. You can spice up your page. It's editable. Um, so outside of esports, everyone kind of seems to think that there's like lots of big money. Like even this week, people are, complaining about the $20. Like, why do we have to fund it? Or the week before, when Lord Jareth was on his VVV gaming podcast and talking about how we need pay-per-view, people are just talking about how people should be in it for the love and not for the money. Can you shed some light on your lifestyle and budget as an up and coming or as a player on an up and coming team, and kind of like maybe not like tell us what your finances, but like just shed some light on like what it's like to be a player in terms of finances?
Finances generally you shouldn't do it if you're going to get into it for the money. Like that's not a good plan. Um, it's not bad though, especially for time commitment. It's decent. And as for people wanting to pay for or not wanting to pay for pay-per-view, you really have to, or else there's no incentive for anyone to host a tournament unless they're going to gain profit from it, at least from viewers. That's like saying, man, I really wish I could watch TV, but without all these advertisements. And that's just how they gain revenue.
So do you think like kind of more tournaments should be doing pay-per-view style, or kind of like a program where you have to pay money? Oh, I just dropped my pen to get content.
Well, it's just I definitely wouldn't advocate for pay-per-view, but I'm just saying that uh, companies when they run tournaments, they have to have some way to gain actual revenue from what they're doing. I mean, MLG is a business and it has to get money. And if simply their Justin TV contract isn't giving them enough, then they have to, get out they have to get some kind of, they have to get monies from somewhere.
So do you follow any other esports or any other competitive gaming titles?
Yeah, like I watched some Pro TF2. I used to play that for a while. I still watch a little Brood War, and I love watching speedruns from like classic games. Those are always fun.
Who's your favorite speedrunner?
Oh crap, someone linked me to this before. Wait, okay, so I don't know the names. Like I know that I usually just watch like competitions where they, go back and forth between several guys all running.
Have you ever tried doing speed runs?
I would not even attempt it. That's what they do is just crazy.
Yeah, like blows my mind. Like I remember watching my friend's brother do like Super Mario 64 for like weeks, and then people do it in like an hour and 49 minutes now. It's
Yeah.
crazy. Would you ever go back to playing like Team Fortress 2 or, other kind of first person shooters, or do you really like the RTS genre for competition?
Well, uh, I don't know. I like the solo aspect of RTS where I can just practice on my own. Team Fortress 2, well, that game was really fun, but its competitive scene is kind of dying out. But I was still pretty good at it, and it's a really fun game. So definitely, when I just want to, play casually with friends, then I'll just get on that.
So do you think that if you were going to be more serious about a game, you definitely want it to be an individual game?
Oh yeah, definitely. I just can't see myself sticking with a team practice schedule, and that would have to be necessary for a team game.
Would you ever play like Quake, your like individual first-person shooter?
Oh yeah, I could definitely get into Quake. I've played that a couple times. I'm terrible at it though.
So what is it about StarCraft that kind of hooked you as the game for you to play?
Uh, I I don't really know. I mean, it's just really fun, and there's always new things to learn. Every game is different, and you get to that point where you're just like, wow, I've played some amazing games, and you always remember them, especially when you're in a tournament and you win that final game. Um, you'll remember those forever, and it's always really fun.
So I guess kind of my last question for you is, do you have anything outside of StarCraft and hobbies that you're particularly fond of and that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I mean, I play a lot of tennis. I used to do chess. I just socialize a lot. Uh, yeah, I'm just kind of pretty normal person.
Do you find that like you're pretty competitive? Like, do you compete in chess or tennis?
uh, well, I'm always secretly always pretty competitive, but I do it with like a smile on my face at all times. Like I don't get mad when I lose ever. Um, Even in StarCraft 2, like I'll be pretty bad mannered, but I never am actually mad.
So
I
you, oh,
I'm like it's kind of odd. I'm secretly really really competitive, but I'm always nice and happy about doing so. Like I just like the thrill of competing.
so you never kind of really get phased by losing in StarCraft?
Oh, not at all. But I love to, be mean about the fact that I lost.
Okay, so on that note, do you have any shout outs or any final comments that you'd like to give?
Sure. I'd like to shout out to Vile Gaming. Thank you for sponsoring me, Vile. Razer is our sponsor, and they're awesome. They are seriously awesome. Go check them out. I do coaching at hotkit.com. I have a stream, justin.tv/vilehawk. And hopefully I'll be getting a Twitter soon. So check it out. And if I have any fans, thank you for following.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So, yeah, thanks, Devin, for coming on. Just another side note, you can definitely follow ESFI. Subscribe to us on Twitch, which is where you might be watching this, or you might be on YouTube. So definitely subscribe there as well. You can also find us on our website, esfiworld.com, which as of today, which is the 15th of February, is currently down, but it should be up hopefully shortly. You can also find us on Twitter and Facebook as well. So like, subscribe, and follow. It does really mean a lot to us and helps us spread our content and, helps promote what we do as an independent media site within esports. So thank you so much for coming on, Devin, and good luck with your future games. Maybe I'll see you at Columbus if we're both there.
Yeah, definitely. And
Have a good
thank you
night.
for yourself. Good night.